Okay, this tutorial will be about making UI and export as an EXE game, Windows standalone as well as mobile game. So we're going to start a new Unity project. I'm using 2020 2.0. Make a new Unity project. I'm going to call it UI example or UI tutorial on my desktop. Okay, now we have the Unity launched. We are going to make two scenes. So we have a sample scene. We are going to save the scene as menu scene, and we are going to make a new scene and save it as game inside the scene folder. Okay. So in this scene folder, we can delete the sample scene. So we have a menu scene and a game scene. We are going to build a really simple startup menu, which then leads to the game menu, game scene later. So in this scene, we are going to create a canvas, UI canvas, with a panel. So if you just create a panel, this kind of canvas menu, canvas scene will be appearing. You can go to game and change the ratio to something like a mobile phone to check the size and everything. So if you don't have this option, you can create a custom menu with your phone pixel. So for me, I made 1080 by 1920. So this will automatically change to this size. And we are going to import a background image. You can make any image you want, but as I shared in the utils image, I made a background image called background HD. We are going to drag it in and change the setting from the texture type default to sprite and hit apply. And we are going to use this as a background for our panel. So drag this background image to this panel source image. And we are going to change the transparency because now it's a bit transparent. So you can go to the color and change the opacity to 255. Alright, now we have a background with an image applied. We are going to make two buttons here. One is going to game and start playing. One is quit game. So go to UI and say button, and we are going to use this Text Mesh Pro button. So this is coming from a package, but if you have 2020 Unity, you don't need to install this. But in case you don't have this, you can go to Package Manager and install a package called Text Mesh Pro. But if you don't have it, by any chance, you can just use normal button. It just have a little bit of quality difference, but everything should be same. Okay, so right click, button, and I need to follow the instruction to import few more files from the package. Alright, once it's done, I'm going to just change the color and the text of the button. So basically you can go to the button and change all the settings there. First, going to the button, and I'm going to change the size of the button. Yeah, and this is going to be aligned from the center of the canvas. If you want this button to be aligned from the bottom, then you can change it to this, for example, but we want this to be centered from the center. Alright, you can change the button text to play, and just change few settings, align it to the center, and make the font size bigger. You can also change the font here by importing more fonts, but I'm going to just leave it as it is. Alright, and going to the button, I'm going to change just few settings to have a little bit better display. For example, this one, I'm going to have the opacity, normal color to be white, highlighted to be 60, or yeah, 60, pressed 150, and leave it white, pretty white, selected, I want to put it as 80 and completely white as well, also completely white, and 40. Okay, so this one to be 80 and 80. Let's have the highlighted and selected in the same color. Alright, and then the text can be that color black, or if you want to change the color, you can change the color here, and also the opacity as well. I'm going to just leave it like that. Okay, so if you now play it, you'll see that the color changes, and you can kind of feel when you're clicking, it gives you a more solid color, solid white background color. Alright, so the play works, and we are going to copy this, Control D, and I'm going to name the first one saying play button, and the second one called quit button, alright, and change the position of the second one, something like that, and change this to quit. I had one more line, that's why it doesn't look nice. Alright, so we are ready with the menus. Cool. Let's go to our second scene, game scene, save it, and make this scene to be ready. We are going to the game and change the scale of the scene, and we are going to bring in a house model. We are going to bring in as a model. We are going to set up as a turntable. So I'm going to bring this one in. This can be anywhere, but let's reset. So, and then press F to snap to the geometry, and then because the lighting is not very good, so we are going to just change this lighting, create a new lighting setting, and don't use baked global illumination, but real-time global illumination, and clear baked data and generate lighting once. Yeah, okay, and that looks a little bit better, and we just need that. Okay, we are going to position this so it looks good in the scene. So once you have a nice position picked, you can select your main camera from here or from here and Shift Control F to snap my camera to my view. You can also do that by going to Edit. Let's see where it is. Shift, it should say Align. Yeah, so it's here. Game object align with view. So Shift Control F. So if you just remember that, it will be much easier. Shift Control F, then your camera is snapped to where your view is set. I'm going to do this few more times to find a good position. Control Shift F. Okay, I think this position looks good. You can adjust it a few more times as you wish. Whatever you like. Okay. And then I'm going to make a turntable by making an empty object and set this as player and put my main camera underneath this player. So the player should, before you do that, before dragging it there, your player should be positioned where you want to be the center of the turntable. In my case, as this one, my house was in 000, I think I'm going to also position this in 000. Alright, and I can put this a little bit higher so it's kind of turning from the center, but turning from here it shouldn't be too much of difference anyways. But I'm going to just bring it up a little bit and then drag the main camera underneath here, and you have this turntable script in the utils file, so we are going to drag this in here. Alright, before we go too large with these files, we are going to just do a little bit of organization, say models, and put all the models inside, images, put these images inside. This one is created automatically for lighting, so I'm going to just, for now, put it in the scene. And scripts, turntable. Okay, and this turntable will be connected to the player, so drag this one and put it under player. So if you select the player, you will see this turntable. Okay, so in this turntable script, if you go right click and edit script, you will see that there is a speed that is controlled by a public float, which is the number you are inputting here. But we won't have this slider or this input when you play the real game, isn't it? So we are going to make a slider. So let the slider to control this speed value. Okay. And another one we need is a button that goes back to the home menu. Okay, so we are going to create a canvas like before, and under this canvas we are going to have a button similar to the previous one. Let's have a look how it looks like. Okay. So for this button, it's going to be like that. We want this to be, of course, a little bit bigger. Let's say 400, 200. change this later. But this one, we want this to be aligned from the bottom. Alright. And we have the text. Change the text to be bigger, smaller, and say home. So this is a home button. Once you click on it, it should take you to the main home. I'm going to change this as well, similarly to the before, but maybe because this has a transparent background, I'm going to make this a little bit more thicker than how we said before. So just make sure everything is white. I realized if you have same color for highlighted and selected and same color for normal and disable, that looks good. Remember 60. It's okay, I let it set 80. Okay, so once that's done, that's going to make UI slider. Okay, the slider, you can also change the size. Of course, align from the bottom. Okay. And for the handle, so this little thing, we can disable the image, and using the fill area to determine the color of the fill, you can use whatever color you like. I made a blue color and saved the blue color before, and the background color I will just leave it white, but I'm going to give a little bit of transparency. Okay, so if you play the game now, you can change the slider, you can click on the home button, yeah, and now we just need to make this to be interactive. So maybe we don't want this background like that, so the quick way to change it is to select the camera and change the background color. So use the clear flags to solid color, and you can change this color to whatever you like. So I'm going to set to a color that I already saved, and then once you play it, I hope we can hook this number up to the speed of the turntable. Okay, so let's go to our slider and set our value. So from our value of the slider, we have this default value here and minimum and maximum value. I'm going to set the minimum to minus 180 and 180. And for start, we are going to set 10. So it's going to turn 10 degrees per second in the beginning. And then once you change the number, you can change up to minus 180 to 180. Alright. And how do we connect that number to the turntable value? So what we need is we need to do a bit of script to let this turntable to read the slider. So double click on this. Alright, let's make the slider to be a public variable of this turntable. Public slider and slider. If you have an auto-correction problem that it doesn't auto-correct for you, you can go to File, Build Settings, and Player Settings, or Edit Project Settings and Player. And if you are in this build, under this build at the moment, you can change this API compatibility level from standard to Net4. Okay. After you change that, you need to close this and just reopen this turntable again. Alright, so I'm going to double click, reopen it. So I don't have any auto-correction problem. It should auto-correct it for me. Okay. And I'm going to set the speed. Instead of something coming from outside, I can change this one to private now and say speed is slider value. So it's a value coming from dot value. So now the slider has a value that is coming from the canvas. Alright, so everything you can just leave it as it is. Close it. Yes. So you have to go to the player and put the slider here. So you need to go to this slider, connect that to the slider. Okay, now if you play it, it should use the default value 10 and minus 180 to 180. So you can also check the slider value here. So since once you change it, it kind of changes together. So that is great. So first thing, the slider is done. So now what we have to test or put is, once we click on home, we need to change, we need to select the other scene. So for that, we are going to use a script that is already prepared for you called main menu. So you can see that from the utilities folder and drag that in, and I'm going to explain you what this does. So if you can see here, it's really simple. It has 3 different functions. One is called play game, quit game, and go home. So how do you do that? You can go to the build settings and add open scene and add also main scene. So go to this menu and bring this as well. So we have 2 scenes, but actually we need to have menu as 0 and game as 1. So this main menu can be called anywhere, but we are going to just hook this up to the player and go to the button, and we have to create an event which happens once when you click. So do this add. So we're going to use the player, and in the player we are going to specifically call the main menu script and say go home. So that's easy. Now when you go to your home scene, which is the menu scene, save, we are going to do the same. So we are going to connect the script to something here. Can be whatever, but we can put this on the main camera or canvas, whatever you think it's cleaner. So we're going to put this one, let's say for now I'm going to put it as a canvas, and go to your play button, add an event, put your canvas here, and we are going to call the function called play game. for the quit button, do the same. Bring the canvas and call quit game. Okay, so if you play now, if you say play, you go to this home, say home, it goes back here, and if you press quit, it gives you a quit text console, but in the real game it's going to quit the game. Alright, so that's it for setting up the game. And we are going to, for now, export this not as a mobile phone game, but firstly as a standalone window game. For that, for the test viewing, I'm going to just change this ratio to something that we can see. Okay, it looks pretty big for the game itself. Play. Okay, but for now we are going to leave it so, because we designed it specifically for mobile for at the moment. So I'm going to go to File, go to Build Settings, and go to PC, Mac, and Linux standalone, and let's try to export this. So there are a few settings that we need to check, but this is good. x86. Let's check for the build settings. So you want to put a company name to be a unique name. So for example, in my case, I'm going to just use my name. You can also use add an icon here. You shouldn't have to change anything. Yeah, I'm not going to change any setting for now. Yeah, and going back to the player, so I actually didn't change anything, and let's see if this works. So say build and run, and I'm going to create a folder called builds. Select the folder, and it's going to build. Cool. So it's automatically launching, and it does exactly the same on and quit. Okay, so this will give you a folder in your Unity package. So let's just check that. So once when I made the Unity package, so here is the builds folder, and this entire thing has been created. And if you want to share this with your friend, you wanna have this entire folder packaged as zip and send it to your friend, and your friend can unzip it and play this exe file. And if you are interested in making that package much more professionally, you can check out this video, which I already sent it to you as in the handout sheet, the link. But here it actually shows you how to package this using something called InnoSetup. Okay, so this one as a desktop app, it's built successfully, and I'm going to build this as a mobile phone app. We don't really have to change this. Whatever is going out, it should look on the phone proportion. So, but it's just easier for me to see. Anyways, I'm going to export. Now I want to export as an Android mobile app. So go to Android, and I have to switch the platform and change your settings there. So I'm going to switch platform. I'm going to go to player settings, change few settings here. Make sure you have a unique company name. I'm going to delete my Vulkan going to untick multi-threaded rendering. Minimum level to 24. This one to net 4. And should be all fine. If you want, you can change this to linear. For iOS, I will put Laura's tutorial in the same folder. Okay, I'm ready to build. So build and run. I'm going to just make a new folder here. Inside this folder, I'm going to say Android and mobile app test 1. Great. So now I have my mobile phone working perfectly. This is my phone after deploying. So my slider also works perfect. Home button, play button, slider, and also quick button. So that's the end of the tutorial, and I'm going to close this project before we start the next one.